Hey YouTube, hey YouTube.com. I'm Jason Ward, and you're watching the Making Star Wars show. Today we have some cool Kenobi news. Up really quickly, just before the show started, I saw from our buddy Chris that Heat Vision has a story saying the mystery behind Patty Jenkins' Star Wars movie has been solved. Matthew Robinson, who co-wrote and co-directed the 2009 Ricky Gervais comedy The Invention of Lying, is penning the script to Rogue Squadron with Jenkins, who will direct for Lucasfilm and Disney, as you would expect. So that's kind of cool. Cool that we finally know who it is. I guess that means witty dialogue. Maybe that's what you need if you're in an action movie. But so that's cool. Really, really happy about that. So Dewey says that's not a great writer. Yeah, I don't know. I like The Invention of Lying, but I never looked at it in a Star Wars context, and I'm not sure what else they've done. Also, you know, who knows if this will be the only writer on these Star Wars projects. Usually there's not one. Usually there's many. Tibor says, "Hi, Jason. Cheers from Hungary. Thanks for making these streams and time slots that are okay for Europeans too. I wish I could say I was just a very, very nice dude, but that's just how the cookies crumbled for me lately. I've had busy nights and free days lately. So that's how it goes." So yesterday on the show, we started late, just like we started a little bit late today. Reason being is that I was hearing some stuff about Kenobi, and I just wrote up my article about it, and I guess we'll go over to MakingStarWars.net and we'll hit publish, because that's what we do. We publish stories, right? Supposedly. So, okay, so that story's out now, and the story is that I can confirm empirically with my peepers that there are Inquisitors in the Kenobi series. So you're going to have Obi-Wan Kenobi being hunted by Inquisitors. Now, this is where I'll frustrate you. I can tell you that there's a fight. Yeah, there is going to be a lightsaber fight between Kenobi and an Inquisitor at least. So that's really exciting news, right? But I can't tell you, does it run through many episodes? Is it only in one episode? Any more context? And so there's things I can't talk about still, but that's what I was given permission to confirm, that Inquisitors are in Star Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Obi-Wan Kenobi does in fact fight them. So that's good. It's good to hear, right? I don't want to misattribute something. I think it was like #show or somebody like that who was saying that if there was going to be an Inquisitor series, I think this is where the wires were crossed. I mean, unless this is what leads to it. But I can tell you for a fact that as of right now, my sources also said there wasn't an Inquisitor show. There's not one. It's what I was told. But I did get it confirmed. Inquisitors and Kenobi, they're going to fight. And helicopter lightsabering is totally possible. But I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, that's just me spooking you, because it's funny. It's funny how that happened. But with that in mind, like, I've always been nervous about this live streaming stuff with spoiler stories like at the same time, because if you ask me something very specific and I know the answer, I can't tell you. And if you were so cunning as to make me slip up and say something, we would be burning a source, and that's not what we do, right? So if you guys have any like speculative like questions that you want to like dance around or whatever, then we could totally talk about that. I'm like up for it. I mean, to me, it's nice that we have something about the show that really kind of sets the tone a bit more. Now, it's obvious, right? Kenobi's a wanted man. He's in hiding. Inquisitors are going to be looking for him. That's not exactly like earth-shattering news, but it also did not have to be dealt with in the show. I mean, ostensibly, you could live your whole life and just never run into one in a giant galaxy, where we only know that there's 12 Inquisitors, right? And there's probably more. And if you ask me, my speculation this is not a confirmed part, this is my speculation, is that they're probably going to be the equivalent of really powerful stormtroopers, the equivalent of those like Death Trooper robots that we saw, or even Death Troopers themselves, but for Kenobi. You send Death Troopers after Jyn Erso, that's the equivalent of a Jedi fighting an Inquisitor, right? You know, not powerful enough that they're going to die, but powerful enough to be a problem. Because when you have somebody like Kenobi, he could just go around mind tricking stormtroopers all day, cutting them down like butter, and there's not a lot of stakes, not a lot at play. Well, with this news, there's definitely something at play, you know. And what's cool is that like it was I believe Henry Gilroy said this before, that the Inquisitors were Jedi that Palpatine had noticed had selfish tendencies, and he kept tabs on them. And when the time was right, he began converting them in whatever way he did that. And as we saw in Fallen Order, one of them was tortured literally into just giving up and being like, I don't want to feel the pain. I'll do whatever you say. I'm in, you know? And that could make for some interesting stories, because Kenobi could know these people, right? I mean, there's a chance that he knows them. There's a chance that when he encounters them, on like Ezra Bridger, who has no idea who they are, was never in the Jedi Order, he may. So that could lead to some potentially like interesting conversations. So, let's see, what did you say? Dewey asks, is the Queen's Gambit actress an Inquisitor? She was training with lightsabers. Yeah, that is probably a very good guess. I would have to say. And up until now, I think it was like implied, and then there was some like, you know, speculation, but I could confirm that there are Inquisitors, and if she's training with lightsabers, unless she's a Jedi on the run too, or something like that, I think that's a pretty good guess. You know, what do you guys think? Would that be your bet? And I loved her in Queen's Gambit. Her name is escaping me right now. We have officially hit a point with Star Wars where there are too many people in these movies to keep all of the actors straight for me, especially if they're not like totally established and in the past now. So, what's your thought on Vader's role in the show? Asked D'Angelo Vickers. Well, I think we kind of, with this Inquisitor confirmation being what it is, I have to say, I have a feeling that they're probably going to maybe end up calling him down. Maybe Kenobi really wipes them out. I mean, obviously not entirely, because Rebels takes place after and they're in Rebels, but maybe he really messes up that generation of them and Vader comes down, because that's what we saw in Rebels. When the Inquisitors couldn't handle Kanan and Ezra Bridger, they ended up sending in Darth Vader. Got to send in the big guns when it starts to go south. Kenobi versus Vader still on the table, you know, since Kennedy had advertises it, laugh out loud. I'd have to think so, Fandom Empire. I mean, I would have to think so. I mean, but you know, maybe it's in the chess game and not physically. There's always that possibility. That said, I think they're going to fight. And I had a very short window yesterday, and I did the due diligence to try to get, you know, a story to you guys this week. And when I went to go and do it, you know, I had a short window, and one of the things that kept coming up was the issue of Inquisitors. Are they there? Are they important? So that was what I went after. When it comes to the Vader and Kenobi duel, that's what I wanted to go after, but I also figured if they just said yes, it would be a big nothing, because Kennedy already said what she said. So hopefully I could get that confirmed for you too. That is that's on the agenda for sure. And I know because everybody asks about it every day. Somebody brings up something like that, you know? Yeah, good question, Johannes Akaliu. Sorry, I cannot pronounce your name correctly, but I like it. Will there be flashbacks for the Clone Wars? Don't know yet. Not sure. I do not want to trip on my own words. I do not want to mislead you. I don't want to take you down a path of speculation that I pretend on accident is informed, right? But I have seen things from the show, and I'm going to be nondescript and non-specific because I don't want it to be known what it was, to protect our sources. But I have reason to believe Kenobi does go off-world. And in my article, I didn't say I know he goes off-world because what if that is a Clone Wars flashback? You see where I'm at with it? Without having read a script or having seen anything that tells me specifically what time, and with there being some ambiguity in costumes in those moments, I can't say for certain. So I think so. So take your pick of the two. There's either going to be a Kenobi off-world of Tatooine, or there's going to be an actual flashback to the Clone Wars. So I can't tell you which it is, unfortunately. And I hope I'm not even misspeaking on what I said, because, you know, it's the way it goes, man. And this is weird because in all the years I've done this, I don't think I've ever really hopped on a stream right after doing a story, unless it was like somebody covering it and they would just ask me to reiterate and then I would jump off. So this is a bit weird. I'm a bit nervous about it. But it's cool, and the source is impeccable. So I'm standing by this very firmly. Dewey says Moses Ingram was spinning the saber, helicopter saber incoming. I think you're on to something. If you ask me, I think you're on to something, Dewey. Mike Papas says, woo. Mike Papas, you earned that woo. Han Solo, when he blew up the Millennium Falcon, he earned that woo too. Sometimes people don't earn the woo. In movies that try to like force emotion and they put the woo, ooh, that's a pet peeve of mine. Nolan says, hey, pal, do you think we'll see Commander Cody hunting Obi-Wan? You know, that would be cool. It's kind of weird how little of Cody I feel like we got. I mean, like, I feel like in Clone Wars too, there could have been a lot more, and it would have made it more of a punch. You know, they focus so much on Rex, and that relationship between Cody and Rex was interesting when they had that friction. So yeah, but I don't know if Cody is alive or not by this point. My memory on that one is a little bit shoo fly, don't bother me. My memory on that is a little bit fuzzy at the moment, because I feel like we saw Cody again, but I don't remember if he was like killed or if it was addressed and where it was. I'd have to like look it up. That has been kind of, for me, one of the, I don't know, I'm not to say annoying, but before I did any kind of Star Wars reporting, it's like I would hear something or figure something out, and I got to like kind of just sit with it and look at it, you know, and like read the comic books extra times and stuff like that. And since 2014, it's almost been like a one and done, and then revisit it if it was important, you know. And like even some of my favorite stuff, like that Kanan issue, the Kanan run where Bad Batch was inserted in the Bad Batch show. Like, I actually really liked the Kanan comic, and I love to reread it. I just never get a chance because my Star Wars time goes to this stuff, you know. But I mean, spending time with you guys is great, so I would let you guys remind me and do this instead, of course. But it just means that those little things that you just do, where you just pick up a comic and read it again, not doing it so much. Nolan says Tamura needs to be the hardest working guy in Star Wars. Laughing my ass off. I need him as Boba, Rex, and Cody in the next 2 years. Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, it would be really, really nice. I I have some, like, I don't know, trepidation is the word. That might be too severe, but Kenobi needs to work on its own. It needs to work without you knowing who a Rex or even a Cody, which is in episode 3. So in a way, you should know it if you're watching the Kenobi series. But he's also a kind of a deeper cut when you get down to it. If you're somebody who watches Star Wars every couple of years on a holiday or something like that, you're probably not going to know who Cody is. And so if they do any of that stuff, they're going to have to like reestablish the exposition of who they are, what they want, and why they're there. And so in a series, you have the time. That's true. If this is only 6 episodes, though, that's not a lot. Not a lot to do that. And so I'm kind of curious to see who they bring back, what they use, and especially who the new characters are going to be, because that's where the saga grows. D'Angelo says Owen and Beru returning. That's a fact, Jack. Does that mean we will see the 10-year-old Luke? Possibly he's the one that gets noticed by the Inquisitors? It's a good question. I mean, it would require a story where an Inquisitor discovers this, is for some reason marooned on Tatooine, out of communication, and if they get from point A to point Z, the jig is up and Luke is exposed. It would require that, because if the person says there's a Jedi here, or a kid with Jedi potential, and Obi-Wan kills them, it's still going to be known by the Empire that there's a Jedi on Tatooine. So that would still compromise Luke, and I would think that Luke can't be compromised. So what if, and speculating with my friend D'Angelo, what if it's more of like a mystery of they know there's a Jedi who's an offspring of somebody like Anakin. They know that the person's out there. They know that they're being protected. They don't know what it means. They don't know who it is. And what if this Inquisitor's on the case? You know what I'm saying? And then Kenobi starts to get wind of what's going on. Almost got Mike Pence just now with the fly on my head. Mike Pence. And then Kenobi goes after, that mystery and saving that information. I mean, it could be at a distance like that. At the same time, it doesn't really raise the stakes necessarily, but maybe at the very end they get close and then Kenobi prevails, And if they did go with a story like that, I would have to think that there's a chance that the off-world content is a flashback. So, hey, Kevin. Well, Kevin has 3 kids around him, so somebody who has one more worse than me. I love my kids, don't get me wrong, but man, are they little punks. Kevin asked, do you think we'll see an unexpected secret life for Kenobi? I think that would be cool. I think it would be neat. I mean, there's just so many ways you could take the Kenobi series and you could take a Kenobi show. And oh God, I want to say this, but looking at how fans reacted to Luke in The Last Jedi, everyone of faith has a crisis of it, right? And who's to say that Kenobi at some point doesn't go, I can't do this. This is all too much. I mean, he has every right to feel defeated, and he has every right to have a moment of human weakness. Maybe not as severe as Luke Skywalker trying to murder his nephew when he finds out that he's the next, Space Vader. But I could see feeling like your life is pretty worthless and has no point when you're on a desert planet and everyone that has been murdered, and you're supposed to be doing this thing that might seem impossible, which is life after death. And maybe at some point he hangs it up, and then the series brings him back in. Could be interesting too. I mean, It depends on how much they're gonna make with Ewan McGregor as Kenobi. And in my opinion, he loves being Kenobi. And in my opinion, because he seems to, he's not like it's not like he's above TV right now, and it's not like he's a huge film star. He's definitely a fine film star, but I don't think he's above Star Wars. And I think doing Star Wars is going to allow him to make independent films and to follow artistic ventures. I'm sure he has his money and all that jazz. I'm not trying to say that anything otherwise, but I don't think he'll be doing any like schlocky popcorn movies when he has a Star Wars movie, right? Or a Star Wars series. Why would he? So who knows if we'll get more of this series. We know it's a limited series because they're not promising that it's going to have multiple seasons. But there's always a chance if this really connects that if they will make more and if they feel like there's more to tell and everybody wants it, I think we'll get more. So Nike Hike says, do you think we will see Mando and Grogu in Book of Boba? Mando and Boba, I think, could make sense. And I think it's completely possible with how the setup was down here in Southern California. So yeah, I could see that being a possibility. But Grogu, this is just my opinion, and it's not based on anything at all. But I think Grogu was a mass hit. I don't think they saw it coming, but I think they had the brains to know people are going to hate this if we don't slow it down. And if we just kind of bleed it out a little bit, we could milk this for a long, long time. So I don't see Grogu just rushing in and being placed into everything because he was a hit. I think that they're going to save it. And I think it's kind of an ace up the sleeve when they need it. And they will need it someday. And I don't think it'll be long. I don't think it'll be like super far away. But I question if we're even going to see Grogu come back into Mando. I mean, once he goes off with Luke Skywalker, I suppose you could write a story where Luke Skywalker needs help and enlist the Mando to protect Grogu or on a mission or for some other reason, knowing that he needs this done and that he's an honorable man. There's a chance that that kind of story could happen, I suppose. But I'm not holding my breath, but I'm hoping we get him because, it's adorable. Love that little dude. Do you think the Grand Inquisitor will show up? Always found his character interesting. I was curious about that too. I have to remain non-specific, okay? But I do not believe I saw the Grand Inquisitor from Star Wars Rebels. So I think that tells you probably what I saw. A bit clearer without me saying it. D'Angelo asks, do you think we'll see or hear Yoda and possibly Qui-Gon training Kenobi further in Force ghosting? Well, not today's rock hard, confirmed thing that I got. But I was told from somebody who I generally hear things through and the stuff pans out pretty often, that Liam Neeson was involved, but then Liam Neeson is saying the opposite. And so either Liam Neeson is hiding it or the deal isn't finalized or it's just some VO work and that they're saving it. I don't know. But it does make me laugh when they have this idea, or sorry, he made a joke and he said they can't afford me. And that makes me laugh because the Clone Wars had him, so it's like, that was clearly a joke and he would clearly do something Star Wars related. And from what I understand, his children are very much into it. So maybe they're a little bit bigger now, but I don't know. I don't really follow his personal life, so that's just conjecture. But I kind of think so, D'Angelo. Just with what the indications have been, the reality of it, and what Obi-Wan's mission is, The question I think is going to be is, are we going to actually see him, or are we just going to hear some VO, right? Nike asks, have you seen Obi-Wan's full costume from the series? Also, thank you. I've seen things. Um, I've oh god, I was almost going to run this as a report, but decided not to because of the ambiguity, and it was a picture of a picture kind of situation, and it looked like he had a walking stick. I thought he might be in a cave, and I would definitely, and he looked like his hair was wet, looked a bit stringy, so I don't know if it was wet or sweaty, and it definitely did look like the costume was a bit darker, like we saw in those photos, and once those photos hit too, I was just like, well, what am I going to do? It's going to seem like I'm just tacking on to those, who was it? The Daily Mail, I think, who put those photos out. So yeah, I mean, I think that is kind of how he's going to look in it. I don't think he's going to have those outer robes on, for all of it, or maybe not even a lot of it. I also think it's a big opportunity for them to, make new products. Also, like, you want the character to be defined by the property that it's in that sense. Like, when you see an action figure, you want to know that's the Kenobi from the television show. You want to know exactly what it means and what it is or where it's from. And so I haven't seen, I don't know how many costumes he has. I don't know if he has a bunch. Like, I simply don't know. With that in mind, might be kind of cool if we kind of do have something where we see him kind of going in this grayer area, not evil, but off the path, and then finds it again. And that's kind of what I'm hearing. There is some of, kind of Obi-Wan Kenobi finding the path again. And so, it visually, we have this darker costume represents the darker times, and then maybe when we see him by the time of Star Wars Rebels and A New Hope, he's completely back on it, and he's, ready to be the Jedi the galaxy needs, and ready to be its sacrificial lamb, because he pretty much gives himself up for the greater good of the galaxy. Johannes asked, will Hayden be shown completely as Vader, or will there be some scenes of him as Anakin? Yeah, we wonder that every day, dude. Yeah, I don't know. I hope all of it. I hope we have Hayden in flashbacks. I hope we have Hayden in the Darth Vader suit. I'm hoping we have Hayden in the Darth Vader suit with the mask broken. I want to see all of it. I mean, who doesn't, right? It's just very, very, it's pretty interesting. But at the same time, you walk that fine line of Revenge of the Sith is important. You can't disempower Revenge of the Sith. And by the same measure, with the amount of kind of like prequel hate and dislike and all that kind of jazz, there is some reason, though, that you can go and you could shift that around and move that importance off of episode 3 onto this new series that will be directed probably with stellar acting and not so serialized in the 1940s, tones of George Lucas. And with that in mind, that is an easier sell and allows that story to be digested by an audience who may have rejected it. And if you love Revenge of the Sith, as I do, it's my favorite Star Wars movie, that stuff still happens, and it's still important to me. And it's so it maybe this is going to be a way of everybody getting to win. Maybe. D'Angelo says, thank you for the info. You rule. Thank you, D'Angelo. I appreciate you coming into the stream and hanging out with me and asking questions and being part of the discussion. And Nike says, are you hearing good things about Book of Boba? There haven't been much leaks and plot release. It seems to be under wraps. Yeah, that one, it was just like, honestly, that one had such a weird rhythm, and it kind of flew under the fog of night, if you will. it seemed like it was going to be Mando 3, and then it wasn't, and it just really made things unclear. And then COVID was going on. That slowed me down a lot, because when COVID, I have a family. I was not taking risk. And so with that in mind, it made it, a lot harder to go out and to socialize, and it made it a lot harder to um, talk to the powers that be who I could get information from, to be able to know what's been up. So I'm still hoping that as things open back up, as I run into people, I get more of that dialogue, and I get to learn a little bit about what's going on with it. And it filmed for way longer than I expected too. And I never learned if that was because of COVID, or if that was because of it just being a slow shoot. And I mean, I was under the impression Robert Rodriguez was doing all of them, and then now I've heard it might be otherwise. And so I didn't even start looking for directors on that, because of an assumption. So there's a lesson to be learned there. When you assume, you just make an ass out of me. Um, will Dengar or Boss show up in the Book of Boba? Oh, that would be cool. I was watching Bad Batch last night, which we should probably talk about a bit too. And when it very first opened up, and Crosshair's going after them, and he has that bandage over his eye, I thought, is that Dengar? Like, for 1 second. And then I thought to myself, man, like, in some ways, Dengar is badass. In other ways, Dengar is truly just like a no name design, kind of like a whatever dude. I love him. I grew up with the action figure, so I'm not saying he's nothing, okay? And I'm not taking that away from him. And I love this appearance in Clone Wars when he teases what's his name about, is that your girlfriend, and all that. It was great. And so I would love to see Dengar come back. But with modern Star Wars, with there being so much, like, everything is going to be focused on things like these Inquisitors and the really badass stuff and the really important characters. And I wonder if we will ever have a breakout Dengar again. Will we ever have a character who just has a backpack, an old shriveled face, and some bandages, or a headscarf, depending on which version we're talking about? And it's like, it's just I don't know, it occurred to me, and I'm just like, because I kind of, like, in that moment, I was like, I kind of miss Dengar. I kind of miss that Dengar vibe. And a character like Bosk, he's an alien in a spacesuit, like in a Doctor Who reused spacesuit, cold flight suit. And with that in mind, right there, you just have all of the potential, all of the possibilities of the character existing. But Dengar is like, I love how cool he is, but low rent. But the fact that he's low rent makes him look cool. You know what I mean? You just can't really I don't know if we can recapture. Can we recapture the Dengar magic, people? That is the question. Aloha. Hey, how's it going, Mr. Tail? Never change that avatar, please. Dark Witcher. Are they planning on using the Dark Horse comic version of Star Wars and Darth Krayt, or whatever his name was, when he was a Jedi and survived Order 66 by returning to Tatooine? Ooh, good question. That could be fun. I don't know. And when it comes to, like, the Inquisitors, or the Inquisitor, or Inquisitors, that I may or may not have seen, and may not have seen parts of and things from and stuff like that, I don't know who they are. I don't know. It could be the 69th brother and the 138th brother, for all I know. Dengar. Yeah, I heard others mentioning that. Yeah, I mean, he seems like it would be an easy kind of guy to get into a TV series. It doesn't sound like it would take much work. Would be cool. Didn't Simon Pegg voice him as well, besides Unkar Plutt in the Clone Wars? Man, what if we had Simon Pegg as Dengar? Could that work? I don't know. I'd be all for it, though. You know what I mean? So, yeah. it's been pretty interesting the last few weeks of what's been going on with Star Wars, and as things are starting to open back up, we're just getting like things starting to move again. It's getting kind of exciting. Did you guys watch Bad Batch last night? Everybody get a chance to watch that? Because last night is just to get to the nitty gritty of it. I hope it's okay to talk about. I hope everybody's had a chance to watch it. It's been up for a good 12, 13, and 14 hours now, or something like that. So I hope if you care, you've seen it. But the implications in the episode were really good. Last night, Cad Bane's action, beautiful. Really, really well done. I like that we got to see his rocket boots used again, and fighting Shand. Oh, so good. It was just done with it really made Shand not feel like a whatever, like no name throwaway character who was just getting kind of shoehorned in. And she's newer, so she kind of like, but she went up against Cad Bane and they beat the crap out of each other, and it was good. And I kept thinking we were going to see Boba show up. I was like, where's Boba? Is Boba coming? But it occurred to me when they confirmed that well, number one, I guessed it. Did you guys hear me? I guessed it. Boba is Alpha and she is Omega. And with that in mind, that makes her Omega Fett. There's big implications for that. She's a Fett. Boba Fett has a sister, and that's her. And she's with the Bad Batch, and she's going to be with on the good side of things. Does that mean is Boba going to go on a quest to find his sister? Is Boba going to see her as a sister? Will she see him as a real brother? There's a lot there to unpack. But yeah, she is basically Jango Fett's daughter, his clone, but female. So that's fascinating. And I wonder if she'll end up taking the name Fett. Will she end up embracing that? Or will it be a Rey situation where she eschews it and takes, makes her name Omega Bad Batch? That's Mrs. Bad Batch or Miss Bad Batch to you guys, or something like that. Wait, sorry. Seeing the clips looked great. Josh says, I think after Boba mentioned in Bad Batch and connected to Omega, I think he's sure showing up in Bad Batch. I think so too. The question is will it be an episode or will it be like the last thing we see? I'm your brother, or something like that. No, I am your brother. I think after Boba was mentioned in Bad Batch and connected to Omega, his first version in the show, I thought there was a personal reason Fennec was trying to rescue Omega. That's what I thought too, Dark. Like when it very first started, and she was like, I think she mentioned Ton Wei was the one trying to kill her. And then it was kind of cool that we saw another Kamino, and who's like, I love this kid. I'm saving her, paying out of pocket here, and saving her. Okay, she was using Kamino and petty cash, I'm sure, but you know what I mean. Yeah, I thought it was going to be that Fennec was working for Fett. And when I considered that, I was like, well, why would Fennec work for Fett? Fett could just do this himself, and what would be his reasoning for having to stay in hiding. But with all of that in mind, we now have Fennec, who has tried to capture Boba Fett's sister, and then later on works for Boba Fett. So I have to think that they're going to definitely give Fennec and Boba backstory, maybe even a relationship. I don't know. I don't know if it didn't seem like there was that kind of chemistry between them, but who knows what we're going to see in the Boba series, because as we did see in Return of the Jedi Special Edition, Boba likes the ladies, he's flirted with his dancer or two. So she's definitely about his same age, I would think too. So it makes sense. Was Jango's deal actually for a boy and a girl on Altered Clone? Yeah, I wondered that too. Like, I wondered if it was going to turn out like his deal initially was, because when you look at it, he gives over his DNA and they make the clones. When Obi-Wan goes there, Boba's already like 10 years old. Why is he there? Why is he still there? And you could say they're reusing his blood periodically for fresh samples, and that's probably what the original story was. But maybe one of the deals for more samples of his blood was maybe he always wanted a daughter, and maybe that's what they were making. And when you look at her age, though, she's what, I'm gonna say 10 years old. I can't really tell how old she is, but that's what makes the timeline kind of complicated, a little bit confusing, because Attack of the Clones to Revenge of the Sith is around 3 years, right? Was it still 3 years? Did they still make the Clone Wars go for 3 years? It was Return of the Jedi that they made 1 year from Empire when it was 3 at one point, I think, and then they made that one 3. Correct me if I'm wrong here, chat. But that would mean that it, if he had been doing it for a little while, she might have been. That would make her, a good 6 years old, maybe. Yeah, it's a hard timeline, but you could also go off with the idea that he was still a working man, and maybe they were going to take care of her for the first few years of her life. Maybe they took care of Boba for the first few years. Maybe he wasn't bottle feeding him. Maybe that wasn't his thing. But once the kid could walk and talk, he was like, okay, you're coming with me now. Your training begins. And so maybe it was going in that kind of direction. I mean, that could be cool. It would definitely open up the possibility of the Fets having a family saga, which is what I guess we already have the possibility, but it could expand upon that. And as we always know, the old saying is Star Wars is a family story. So with that in mind, it makes good sense to me. So yeah, where's Omega back then? And that's a good question. And we still don't know what happened to Jango's sister. Maybe Fennec is her daughter. I doubt she would be Fett's sister herself. Oh well. Yeah. I don't think so. She seems I don't know if the ethnicity would like really like line up in that way. But would be really cool though it's gonna be cool if it goes on. I don't think they're gonna kill Omega. So, it could be pretty cool as time goes on if we see this like adult lady Boba Fett, if you will, with the shaggy blonde hair. And yeah, I mean it could be a really cool emerging character out of this. Um she's still so green, she's still so innocent and inexperienced in the world. But as she goes on and she lives in it, she's gonna clearly become hardened as the other characters who we know and stuff like that, So yeah, but pretty good. I mean, pretty good episode last night. So we got good Kenobi. We can know who the writer on Rogue Squadron is, and we know that there's Inquisitors for sure in Kenobi. What if Jango also had a biological child also? Yeah, I mean that's possible. I would have to think though, if they went that route, I mean, it could always be, how many kids do you have? One that I know of. It could be like that, right? But at the same time, I have to think that if he went that route with Boba, he probably doesn't have any biological children. It might kind of make that story a bit more confusing if he did. That's just my take. But also, when there's a really great idea and they work with it, then there you go, right? But yeah, I think we're gonna wrap this one up today because I'm a little bit exhausted from the last 24 hours doing what I did, getting what I got, and putting out what I did. And I can't say too much more, which makes this frustrating. And I want to thank everyone in the chat for being cool about it, because I know other people won't be. Other people get really angry when you don't just tell them everything that they want to know, and that you don't just completely burn a source right away because of instant gratification, But that's the world that we live in. But Boba would have known about them if that was it. You would think. I mean, you would think, but at the same time, you never know. But hey, Adi Kane, Aid Kane. Keep up the good work. Thank you. I'm trying, and I will do my best. I want to thank everybody for coming onto the stream today, hanging out. And I've been trying to do these daily, and I think today marks 2 weeks in a row that I've done them. So that's rad. Considering starting sort of like having channel members. So if you want to support the show, I may make that a thing. I don't know about the super chat business. I don't know. I'm a bit uncomfortable with it, but the idea of like channel members might go that route and do some for everyone and then do some just for channel members as the show grows. But you could let me know, send me DMs or whatever about what you think about that or how you feel about it, because I won't if people don't want it or they think it's a bad idea. But you're welcome, Nike, and thanks for joining me, guys. Make sure you read the story on MakingStarWars.net. That's where the bread and butter comes from, if you will. And make sure you subscribe to the channel. People say that they don't get notifications for me, even though they click the bell or whatever the heck it is. But make sure you do that so that way you know when I'm going live. I am so far very bad at being able to notify people when I'm going to go live, because I feel like 10 minutes is enough, and then I'm getting ready right up to the last moment. But as I get the hang of things, I'll start letting people know a bit better about when I'll be able to like go live. And I'm glad I've been able to do these during the daytime for like our friends in other time zones. So I'm glad that works in that way, and hopefully we could continue to do some of that. And I'll try and do some later too, though, just so that way, people who can't make the live stream can always make it. And if you can't make the live stream, send me an email, send me a DM, just say it's for the show. I'll save it and we'll still get to it on the show, even if you're not here. And then when you watch the show, you'll see your question just as if you were here. So thanks, guys. Have a good weekend. I will probably see you guys on Monday. Maybe I'll do one over the weekend if I should end up with the free time. And if not, I'll see you Monday for sure.